What's going on, Spider-Man fans? This is Solid Dave Snake, continuing Marvel Legends March here at my YouTube channel, and kicking off my reviews for the Spider-Man Marvel Legends Infinite series Build-A-Figure Green Goblin Wave. And with this first review, it would be fitting to start off with our main hero from this line, the Amazing Spider-Man, based off his looks from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie. And even though this action figure is based off his movie counterpart, he really fits well with your comic book action figures as well. This is the closest costume design for any Spider-Man movie that resembled the comic book costume the closest. That classic Spider-Man comic book look. And really did a great job with it. Right now I have him on a flight stand, which he did not come with. This actually came with one of my aliens, the Neck-a-Dog alien. But I just wanted to show off some of the dynamic posing you can make with this guy, because that's his best feature, is the articulation. But before we get into the articulation, we'll take a look at him from head to toe. And like I said, you could almost use this Spider-Man action figure in a lot of your comic book dioramas and setups, because he has a lot of similarities. Even almost looks a little bit like the McFarlane Spider-Man if the eyes were bigger. But he has that same exact costume design as the comic book Spider-Man, with the way his costume is laid out, and with the spider on his chest, that being the only real difference. Instead of having the smaller black spider, it's got those long extended black legs like how he had in the movie. But I love the overall detail in this costume. If you look all along the blue parts, you can see that there's actually stitching sculpted in there. And if you run your fingers across it, you can feel it. That's all sculpted in there to give it that fabric-y look. And even all the design on the red part with the black seams running through everywhere that look like the spider webs was done really, really well. And on the back, he's got the red spider with those long legs continuing down. The only two minor gripes I have about this figure is if you look on the inside of the arms where those pegs are for the joints, they are red on the blue side. Of course, they match up on this outer part of the arm. That's why they painted them red. So there's really no way they could have avoided that unless they would have put an extra coat of paint after assembling these. But it's an easy customizable fix. And the other thing is the way his articulation is at the upper hips kind of makes his crotch area look a little weird, especially when you have him posed certain ways. But all in all, I would rather have that great articulation and just have a little minor visual obscurity. And this figure was actually in my top 5 figures for 2014. I just think this is great, and one of the things I've always loved about Spider-Man action figures throughout his action figure history is they always try to make him more articulated than other figures, and this figure is no different. He has amazing articulation, and we'll start right at the head, which is on a ball joint and a hinge. So of course it will rotate all the way around and look a good ways down and a good ways up, which is much needed for Spider-Man. And he has some really neat shoulder articulation that pivots in and out right here, which you can get a lot of extra movement from. Whenever you have it all the way out, it may look a little weird, but you don't really ever need to put it that far out. So it's nice to have the option to get that movement out of there. And he still has the ball joint and hinge there at the shoulders, which will actually go that far up, all the way down, and of course rotate all the way around. But it kind of sticks from the in and outward movement of that shoulder joint. He has a rotation at the bicep, double jointed elbows, And at the hands, he has a hinge, which will go that far down and that far up, and a peg, which will let it rotate all the way around. And I forgot to mention, the one accessory he comes with besides the Green Goblin Build-A-Figure pieces are extra hands. He's got 2 web-slinging hands and 2 fist hands. So it's nice being able to interchange those. With the old Marvel Legends from the Toy Biz era and a lot of the Spider-Man figures, they would put individual finger articulation, but it would almost make it look a little weird. So I would much rather have interchangeable hands than individual finger articulation. So I really like that Hasbro has started doing this. And to continue on to the articulation, he does have a diaphragm joint, which will go that far back and that far down. And he does have a cut at the waist, which will rotate all the way around, but it looks a little awkward when you have it to the side. And at the hips, he has a great range of movement. He can kick really far up and move really far out into a full split. And he has a cut at that upper thigh, which will rotate all the way around. Double jointed knees, which are great and a must-have for Spider-Man. A cut right above the red part of the boot, which will rotate all the way around. Hinge at the foot, go that far up, all the way back. And the much-needed ankle pivot with a peg hole on the bottom of his feet. So, amazing Spider-Man figure. I can't wait for the next line of Spider-Man figures to get the Spider-Man based off of the classic comic book look in It, to see how it really compares to this action figure. So, stay tuned, guys. I will be doing the movie Electro from this series up next. So, I'll catch you later.